Hello, I'm your Psych for Psych 12, and today we'll actually be going over week 6 lecture and also doing a little review for the midterm. We'll be reviewing the information from lecture 9 to lecture 12. Yeah, the questions based on week 4's lectures. It would be best if you answer these questions without looking at notes or the textbook. I'll give you all a few seconds to answer the questions or pause the video before I tell you the answers. Okay, now for the answers. What is an experiment? An experiment is a scientific procedure in which at least one variable is manipulated and at least another one is being measured. Define the following terms: independent variable, dependent variable, and control variables. A dependent variable is a variable being measured. The independent variable is the variable being manipulated. The control variable is the variable that is kept constant throughout the experiment. To contextualize these terms, for example, if you were testing what fruit people like the most, the independent variable in this case would be the type of fruits provided to the participants, and the dependent variable is their ranking of the fruits. How does a researcher avoid selection effects? A researcher may avoid selection effects through random assignment. As you may recall, random assignment is when every participant has an equal chance of being selected, and it's unsystematic. He had the question based on week 5's lecture. As I said before, it would be best if you answer those questions without looking at notes or the textbook. I'll give you all a few seconds to answer the questions or pause the video before I tell you the answers. Sorry, one of the answers already is shut up. So now for the answers. For week 5 answers. So first, explain independent groups design and within groups design. Independent groups design is a design in which various groups of participants are put in varying levels of conditions in terms of the independent variable. It is also known as a between subjects or between groups design. On the other hand, a within groups design is one in which one group of participants is given all level conditions of the independent variable. It is also known as a within subject design. What is the effect size formula? The effect size formula is as shown in the diagram, but it's basically mean difference divided by spread of scores. It's important to also remember that when D is 0, there's no effect. When D is 0.2, there's a small effect. When D is 0.8, there's a large effect. What does a p-value greater than 0.05 represent? A p-value greater than 0.05 is not significant or not significant. And on the flip side, if the p-value is less than 0.05, then it's considered significant. How do you conclude that an experiment is statistically valid? To conclude that an experiment is statistically valid, one must be able to measure effect size and statistical significance and understand null effects. After that little review, we'll be diving into the new concepts that were taught in the lecture this past week. Firstly, we'll be looking at threats to internal validity and then with quasi-experiments. Internal validity is one of the 4 main validities that have been repeatedly mentioned in this class. And just like the other validities, internal validity has numerous things that can greatly affect it. Maturation is a gradual change over time that is not caused by treatment. And this threat is a threat that happened due to an event that most members of the group experience while still on the treatment. Attrition is when participants drop out of a study, but only counts when it's systematic, meaning a specific subset of participants all drop out. An instrumentation threat is when the measurement process changes over time. A testing threat is when the participant changes as a result of repeated testing. Other threats to internal validity include observer bias, demand characteristics, design confound, and selection effects, which we have all spoken about before. When there are multiple independent variables in the design, one comes across a factorial design. A factorial design is a design in which there are 2 or more independent variables, also known as factors. On the topic of factorial designs, it's important to know that interactions are the effects of one independent variable on another, and they can either be spreading or crossover. Interaction tests are important because they clearly illustrate how variables interact with each other. In order to see the difference in factorial designs, ANOVA is the way to go, since it tests the statistical significance on each main effect and its interaction. There are multiple types of factorial designs, and they build on concepts that were previously introduced. There's an independent group design, in which combination of IV levels represented by cell on the table has a different group of participants. There's a routine groups design, in which one group of participants completes all combinations of IV levels that were tested. And then there's a mixed design, which, as the name implies, is a mix in which one factor is between subjects and the other is between subjects. Sometimes experiments cannot be created to be as effective as researchers want, especially when independent variables cannot be ethically manipulated. During this case, a quasi-experiment is needed. A quasi-experiment is an experiment where the independent variable is recognized, but it is not manipulated and not randomly assigned to participants. As a result of this, it has two major disadvantages. It has a low internal validity. It has a lower internal validity than true experiments, and selection effect due to the absence of random assignment. In order to combat selection effects, a matched grouped design in which participants are leveled on a key variable or waitlist design, where everyone experiences this manipulation, but one randomly chosen group has to wait at the ways that people can combat this selection effect. Small N designs. A small N design is a design in which only one person or a small group of participants participate in this experiment. If it was only one person, it would also be called a single N design, also known as a case study. As a result of the small amount of participants, it does have internal and or statistical validity limitation. Small N designs aim to observe changes in participants, and they have studies/methods to do so. There's a stable baseline design, which is a design in which behavior is first observed for a long period of time before treatment to create a baseline, and then post-treatment is treated for change. There's a reversal period where treatment is first observed and taken away. There's existent proof, which is showing something that can happen, showing that something can happen, like proving that it does exist. There's a psychophysics, is when researchers utilize powerful methods. Well, psychophysics. Psychophysics is when researchers utilize powerful methods to evaluate the study of perception. Operant conditioning establishes baseline rate of response and then eventually practice extinction. That is all for this week. Good luck on your midterm. Thank you.